The California-Mexico border. 200 pounds of cocaine discovered in a car's gas tank. JFK International Airport, New York. $1 million of laundered drug money found in a suitcase. Miami, Florida. 240 pounds of cocaine with a street value of more than $2 million stashed in the wheel of a 747.
Every year, billions of dollars worth of illegal drugs, weapons, and counterfeit merchandise flood our nation's borders. Tonight we go behind closed doors and onto the front lines with the US Customs Service in a war that is being fought every day at every land, air, and seaport in the United States.
We were given unprecedented access to their hottest points of operation, from New York's JFK International Airport to the California-Mexico border to the Port of Miami, to see just how massive the customs mission has become.
We have about a 5,000-mile border with Canada, 2,200-mile border with Mexico, and of course we have about 10,000 miles of coastline. The borders present huge challenges to us.
The scope of their challenge could never have been imagined when U.S. Customs was established in 1789. In fact, it's the oldest federal law enforcement agency. As part of the Treasury Department, its primary mission is to collect duty and taxes on imported goods, ranging from Japanese cars to electronics to German beer. Last year alone, they brought in $24 billion to the U.S. Treasury, second only to the IRS. But it's catching smugglers and the illegal items they attempt to sneak in or out of the country that takes up the majority of time and effort for the 20,000 people who work for the agency. Washington, D.C. 2 blocks from the White House is Ground Zero, U.S. Customs headquarters, where I met with Commissioner Ray Kelly.
People think of contraband, they pretty much just think of drugs, but what else are you looking for?
Well, we look for anything that is against the law to bring in, and that can be anything from weapons of mass destruction to, unfortunately, cigars, Cuban cigars.
Inspectors also target counterfeit goods, small weapons, and child pornography. But it's drugs that make up nearly half of all customs seizures.
Well, we seized about 1.5 million pounds of drugs last year. That's up almost 10% from the year before. So, and it seems to keep going up every year.
You obviously need a certain amount of secrecy within this department in order to be able to do your job effectively, but why did you let us behind your closed doors?
I don't think America knows enough about the Customs Service, knows enough about 20,000 dedicated employees that work 24 hours a day, that do work in pretty risky and demanding situations, and do a very good job.
Behind this nondescript closed door, deep inside the headquarters, is the Situation Room. And here, agents monitor U.S. Customs operations worldwide.
Inside, computerized display screens track all customs airplanes and boats.
Up on the screen, you'll see some blue indicators. Those are customs aircraft that are in
That's
flight.
our guys.
Those are the good guys.
Okay.
The smugglers, or bad guys as Customs calls them, are in yellow, and right now they're being pursued off the coast of Miami.
78 Tango. The target is near 2904 at 4 miles.
They'll follow that aircraft in. When it lands on the ground, they'll land as well. They'll make arrests, confiscate drugs. This is a fairly constant event.
Looking around the Situation Room, I realized that America's war on drugs has literally become a high-tech game of cat and mouse. Riverside, California. This is AMIC, the Air and Marine Interdiction Coordination Center. Here, Customs uses some of its most sophisticated technology to catch the smugglers trying to penetrate our borders by air. Every day, more than 2,600 aircraft land in the U.S. from abroad. Commercial airliners, personal jets, and small planes. Legal or illegal, Customs tracks them all. Their most sophisticated weapon, the Orion P-3, a 4-engine turboprop equipped with specially designed early warning radar that covers nearly 200,000 square miles. This gives Customs the ability to locate suspected smugglers long before they reach the U.S.
They fly over the Caribbean, they fly over South America. They are capable of staying in the air up to 12 hours, and they are a primary identifier, you might say, of boats and airplanes bringing drugs into the country.
Flying at 20 to 25,000 feet, they even track drug shipments before they leave the ground. Here, Customs is watching a shipment being loaded onto a plane in South America. The P-3 is part of a vast web of radar surveillance, which includes military and domestic air traffic information and data from these giant tethered radar balloons called aerostats. They're about twice the size of the Goodyear blimp, and 11 are stationed along the border. All of this information is instantly relayed to the specialists at AMIC, who are in constant communication with 11 air and marine branches located across the country. This is where information turns into action.
This is Customs Radar in Riverside calling.
When we come back, I join one of the busiest Customs teams on the front lines in Miami, Florida.
Behind Closed Doors will continue in a moment here on A&E. Behind Closed Doors with Joan Lunden continues here on A&E.
From small amounts of marijuana to large bales of cocaine, Customs seizes billions of dollars worth of drugs every year from illegal flights coming into the U.S. Much of the traffic flows through Florida, but it takes a coordinated effort from Customs officials across the country to stem the tide. 20,000 feet in the skies over the Caribbean, specialists aboard a P-3, the high-tech surveillance plane, spot a suspicious aircraft. Riverside, California, Customs Coordination Center AMIC tracks the plane heading toward Florida. They alert their Miami branch. Now, it's up to their air branch to get airborne and intercept it.
Behind this closed door is the Miami Customs Air Arsenal. Here, flight crews and special response teams are on 24-hour call so they can be in the air at a moment's notice.
Putting the scramble citation.
They call it scrambling. When the orders come in, the flight crew kicks into high gear.
When I hear the alarm, I get an immediate adrenaline rush, and the first thing I want to know is where do they want me to go and where's my equipment. That's all I'm thinking. Just grab the equipment and go.
We're mandated to be in the air in 8 minutes from the time the call comes to the office. That means information is passed to our pilots, they grab their equipment, they go to the aircraft and launch. And that 8 minutes is actually being in the air, taxiing down and breaking ground within 8 minutes.
All right. Be safe.
We have a primary target. Heading is 315 to 175. Coming from Nassau, they think it's going to go to Palm Beach. Initial heading is 050.
76 Tango, roger.
When U.S. Customs goes into scramble mode, they first send up a high-performance citation jet to get a close look at the aircraft.
Target heading 028, 2,400 feet indicated, 118 knots.
Yeah, we got a target about 5 degrees left of the nose, heading 100, and is 3.1.
That's your aircraft.
76 Tango, we'll take it, Judy.
Every time you take a plane up in the sky, it's dangerous, and our mission profile is all high risk.
Using FLIR, a forward-looking infrared camera, the citation covertly investigates the suspicious plane. The crew relays the aircraft's tail number back to Riverside, where they pull records on the owner and the pilot. If the plane doesn't check out, orders are given to launch a second aircraft, the Blackhawk helicopter. Inside, the bus team. This heavily armed assault team is Customs' most elite and highly trained.
When you see the pictures of all these guys coming out with their guns up and chasing the people down, that's us. We're cops. We're cops that fly.
The pilot's challenge? to sneak right up on the suspected bad guy without being seen. To do that, the Blackhawk must stay behind and slightly below in the plane's blind spot.
All players from 1-4 November. Target is starting at a slow left orbit in this area, anticipating descent right now, holding level 4.5.
Once the Blackhawk arrives on the scene, the citation takes on a secondary role. They now become the videographers. With their infrared cameras aimed at the target, they record everything that happens.
600 feet, 100 knots, bearing about 025.
They are collecting evidence to use against the bad guys. Sometimes if the smugglers discover that authorities are onto them, they try to dump the cargo.
Subject's opening the door. Watch out for the drop there, that happened.
This is footage recorded by a US Customs citation jet.
Jet is on film. I'm getting it. Drop the load.
We try to put as many people into this chase because the more force you show up with, the more likely somebody is to give up rather than to fight.
Okay, he's geared down. He's geared down at this time. So it looks like it's going to be this airport.
We are the final stage of the game. Once the aircraft land, we land in front of the aircraft and we jump out and everybody standing hit the ground. Hit the ground, no question. We ask the question later.
The worst thing anybody could do would be to try to oppose us or fight us because we're so highly trained. That would be their worst mistake.
Once everyone aboard the target plane is on the ground and safely cuffed, the bus team searches the plane for contraband. And if they find it,
The whole area where we're at turns into a crime scene. We'll take fingerprints. We document everything. Everything becomes evidence. And then a court trial starts.
to find out what it's like to be part of an elite customs SWAT team, I was allowed to take part in one of their simulation exercises. My role? To provide cover for the team and to subdue and handcuff the suspected smuggler.
Again, take your hand. Now it's going to come right up through your hand. You grab the cuff over here in the back. Okay. Well, watch, it's going to come up and cut you. There you go.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I reviewed the weapons I'd be carrying, a heavy Steyerog machine gun and a 9mm Glock sidearm. They issued me a 3-pound military-style helmet that's linked with the helicopter's communication system and walkie-talkies.
You have them both down. This is for eye protection, definitely, and this, of course, is from the sun. And it's also an intimidation factor. Whenever we use these helmets and with the dark shield down and you come out, you almost look like the Star Wars effect. All right. Bulletproof vest.
You'd want one of these.
You certainly do. It's required on every apprehension.
We practiced deploying from the helicopter several times. The equipment I wore weighed 40 pounds. With all that weight and fighting fierce winds kicked up by the blades, it was difficult to get out of the Blackhawk quickly. Once our instructor was satisfied with the deployment, we returned to the Blackhawk and strapped in.
Where?
As the helicopter took flight, the adrenaline kicked in. This was it. No one on board knew exactly what we would have to deal with in this scenario. All I knew was that out there somewhere was a bad guy plane. We would follow until it landed and then make the bust. Coming up.
Okay, I see him at 11 o'clock. Got him right there at 11. He's coming right at us, yeah.
The bus team strikes.
No.
Behind Closed Doors will continue in a moment here on A&E. Behind Closed Doors with Joan Lunden continues here on A&E.
US Customs allowed me to join an elite bus team on a training mission at the Air Marine Base in Homestead, Florida. Once the scramble alarm sounded, we had 8 minutes to be airborne. We were flying flying at 5,000 feet aboard a Blackhawk attack helicopter. Our mission? To follow a suspected smuggler's plane, and after a touchdown, move in and make the bust. But we weren't alone. Ahead and above us was the Citation jet with a 3-man crew, equipped with radar and cameras, hot on the trail of the target aircraft.
Hammer 76 is ready.
It's a little like looking for a needle in a haystack, tracking the smugglers in thousands of square miles of open sky. But we had radar information from AMIC, Customs Air Interdiction Coordination Center in California, helping us to hone in on the suspect.
Traffic is heading 059er, 900 feet, 86 knots.
76 Tango looking.
Okay, got him in the radar.
On 76 Tango, so we have a target on the nose, heading at 230-130 knots, Angels 2.0.
Once the crew of the Citation confirmed the identity of the target aircraft, the Blackhawk was guided into position.
Okay, I see him at 11 o'clock.
Got him right there at 11.
Okay, I got him.
He's coming right at us, yeah.
Flying at a speed of 170 knots, we zeroed in on the small Cessna, slipping into a blind spot behind the suspected smuggler's airplane. They had no idea we were there. Flying so close made me just a little bit nervous.
A lot of our pilots are prior military pilots, and we're used to flying close formation. However, now we're flying formation with a person that doesn't know we're in formation with them, so it has another level of risk to it, but we can get right up there underneath him where he can't see us, and we follow him right to wherever he's going.
Do they usually figure it out at some point that you guys are following them?
Usually not, because they'll come up right behind them real close, visually identify the tail numbers, and then back off about a half a mile right behind them, so I've never seen them.
So they can come right up, sneak right up behind a plane like that, identify the number, and they're not in their vision so they can't be seen?
That's right.
When I first started to do this, I would get a lump in my throat, experience a certain amount of fear and anticipation along with that. And after a while, I learned to relax and call on that adrenaline when I need it.
To the left, Tom. Turn left. Hard left.
After we had tailed it for several minutes, the plane began to descend. It was apparently landing at a local airstrip.
They'll land at what we call clandestine airport. Some airport out here that doesn't have any control tower, anybody working on the field.
Hey guys, 1 minute out. Switch to handheld. On everybody be safe.
Roger that.
The target plane lowered its landing gear. It was going in with the Blackhawk right on its tail. Even though this was just a training scenario, I could feel the tension as the bust was about to go down. When U.S. Customs agents go out for real, lives are on the line.
En route, you're thinking, you're going in your mind, you're rehearsing what you need to do, what steps you're going to take. Once the aircraft hit the ground, everything goes out the window. And from the training and the procedures that we have, you just react.
The suspect's plane landed. They taxied over to rendezvous with their accomplices, waiting in a white van.
At that point, they got several opportunities. One, they can give up, or two, they can run, or third one, they can fight. And over the 30 years that I've been in customs, we've encountered every one of them. I've been involved with shootouts with them. I've involved people that just, throw their hands up and give themselves up.
The mice were in the trap, and it was time to spring it. At this point, speed and precision are critical. Customs needs to catch the smugglers before they have a chance to unload the cargo and drive off with the drugs. The Blackhawk must land in front of the suspect's plane to prevent it from taking off. With a jolt, we were suddenly on the ground.
No.
We quickly deployed from the helicopter and moved into our positions. 2 officers went for the suspects in the van, while the rest of us surrounded the airplane. My job was to provide cover as another team member got the pilot out of the plane. I then had to handcuff the pilot.
Give me your right hand. Thumbs up.
The Blackhawk had lifted off to hover nearby for observation and communication back to the airbase. Soon, all of the smugglers were handcuffed and lying face down on the ground. A quick search of the van revealed the stash.
Got drugs! We got the dope!
How similar was this to when you really do it?
It's very similar. Most of the time we're doing this at night when it's pitch black, so that changed things quite a bit. It's a little bit more exciting. The adrenaline is going like 100 miles an hour.
What's the best part of the job for you?
The camaraderie, the sense of doing something that's honorable and for the country, and the teamwork that we all have.
What about the fear?
Well, training overcomes that.
That's what it's all about, right?
That's right.
Training and planning ahead.
Training, planning.
Having a plan.
We don't do anything that's extremely dangerous because we are so well trained.
Seems to me that it's all extremely dangerous. Thank you very much for letting me be part of it.
Thank you for coming.
Next, we go to the busiest international airport in the country, where high-tech tools are stripping away smugglers' defenses.
Oh my gosh, you see through their clothes.
Correct.
Behind Closed Doors will continue in a moment here on A&E. Behind Closed Doors with Joan Lunden continues here on A&E.
One of the most common places for smugglers to sneak drugs, currency, or weapons in or out of this country is also one of the most public.
Last year, 80 million people came through customs at U.S. airports. 10 million of them came through right here at New York's JFK. It is the busiest international airport in the country.
If you've traveled internationally, you know the drill. Passengers get their luggage and then wait in lines for inspectors.
Mientras estés aquí, el inspector solamente mira para este lado, ¿ok?
Customs can legally open and inspect a passenger's luggage at any time for any reason. Vince DiGilio has been a customs inspector for 18 years.
Are you looking at the person more or the bag?
We're looking mostly at the story that a person is giving us. Sometimes people will claim to be of a certain profession, and we'll ask them a few general questions sometimes in that area, and you find out a lot of times they have absolutely no knowledge in that area. And again, it just opens up a little door that you need to ask a few more questions maybe to bring you someplace else. We would check for things such as the lining of the suitcase to see whether or not some type of narcotic has been incorporated in here.
So not just a zipper pocket?
Not any part. Any part of the bag can
like
be used.
In here.
The foam on the shoulder straps here could be used. Within the bag, we found contraband within the frame of pictures.
Oh, really? They hide stuff in between?
They hide stuff in any cavity.
Okay.
Smugglers have been known to stash drugs inside of shampoo bottles, cans of shaving cream, even roll-on deodorants. Others replace the contents of ordinary bottles of liquor with drugs in liquid form.
And a way for testing that is that the bubbles inside a bottle of rum rise at a certain degree to the top. When they put liquid cocaine in there, they rise much slower.
I remember when I first started as an inspector and I was out on the line, you would see a seizure once in a while, a narcotic seizure, and it was a big event and everyone talked about it for a while. But today, if I don't see a seizure every day, I'm asking why not.
Behind the scenes, inspectors have canine assistants, trained narcotics dogs who work the baggage areas, sniffing out drugs that may be hidden in suitcases. The dogs have been trained to scratch at the luggage to alert the handler that there's something inside.
When the dog responds to the narcotic odor, we give the dog a reward, which is a term called towel, where we play tug of war with the dog. The dog works for the towel, and the dog, we always try to let the dog win.
Out in public areas, Customs uses dogs like Petey, chosen for his personality.
That's a Springer Spaniel, and everybody likes those kind of dogs. And we don't want to put on an appearance of being aggressive because 99.9% of the passengers are just coming through. And we're looking at that small amount, and we want a dog in here that's not intimidating to the public.
Dogs like Petey have been trained to sit and wag their tails when they smell drugs.
Hey!
All right, PD uncovered bags of ecstasy. Made in Europe, it's the fastest growing drug in the U.S. Last year, Customs seized 9.3 million tablets that sell for about $30 a piece. If the dog indicates that drugs are present but nothing is found in the luggage, or if the inspectors are suspicious based on questioning a passenger, they have the authority to order a body search. Passengers can't refuse, but they have a choice. Either submit to a traditional pat-down or a new high-tech body scanner. This machine allows inspectors to see right through clothing. Protocol requires that male inspectors scan male passengers, while female inspectors do the same for women. There are only 10 body scanners in the country, and Customs gave me a rare demonstration.
What we're looking for in this image is anything that seems to go out of the natural contour lines of the body.
Well, what's this?
There seems to be two packages that the person's carrying on their calves that don't belong there.
You see through their clothes, but you don't
Only
see
through
into
their
their
clothes,
body.
not to within their body.
If nothing shows up on the scanner, but the inspectors still believe the passenger is carrying drugs, they have the authority to take them to a medical facility for x-rays.
Virtually every day we have internal carriers coming in, people with drugs inside their bodies. They've swallowed a certain amount of drugs, and that is very commonplace.
In this video recorded by Customs officials, one smuggler describes how she wrapped drugs in plastic and then in the tip of a surgical glove before swallowing her deadly cargo.
Before you start swallowing, they give you a liquid that numbs your throat so that when you're swallowing and the pellets chafe your throat and it bleeds, you won't feel it.
This is a dangerous practice. The packages are often filled with cocaine or heroin. If one were to rupture, the carrier would overdose almost immediately. But even Customs inspectors, many of whom say they've seen it all, were unprepared for this shocking bust. San Juan, Puerto Rico. A smuggler had 4 quarter-pound bricks of cocaine surgically implanted in his thighs. I must warn you, the footage is graphic. It was shot by Customs when doctors removed the drugs.
Oh, they're removing a 4th object this time. Yeah. 130 positive to cocaine.
But individuals carrying drugs into the country are just the tip of the iceberg.
In addition to screening international air passengers who step foot on America's soil and their luggage, of course, there is a special team of U.S. Customs officers who inspect the planes as well.
Behind closed doors, the 4-member contraband enforcement team scours the plane from cockpit to tail, looking for drugs that in some cases are placed by someone working for the airline.
If an airline person is involved, rather than put the cocaine or the heroin on a passenger or in a bag, they'll conceal it someplace in a plane. There's a lot of hidden compartments on planes.
A favorite spot to stash drugs? The bathroom.
This is one of the more distasteful parts of searching an airplane, the lavatory. The smugglers know that, and then they think that, I guess we'll have a natural aversion to going into where we think the load may be if they put it in probably the dirtiest, grimiest spot there is, but you know, we don't care.
In a dramatic bust in Miami, Customs intercepted a commercial cargo flight from Bogota, Colombia. A Canine unit sniffed out 240 pounds of cocaine, street value more than $2 million, hidden inside one of the jet's spare tires.
What gets real scary about that is the smugglers don't really care about the airworthiness of the plane. We found cocaine in the flight control system, where it could really bring a plane down.
Customs is not only concerned about what people are trying to sneak into this country, but what they're trying to sneak out of it. It may surprise you to learn that the most common item smuggled out of the U.S. is money. It's perfectly legal to leave the country with cash, even huge amounts. You just have to declare it. Often the cash is laundered drug money, and just like the drugs, will be stashed almost anywhere from suitcases to toy boxes. So how do inspectors catch people sneaking out with undeclared money? With currency dogs like Kelly. In this training exercise, Kelly quickly singled out a woman carrying a large amount of cash in a money belt hidden under her sweater.
Good girl.
Okay, this is Kelly, right?
Yes, it is.
And you're Tony?
Yes.
All right. Now, he really went for this body here that has got, what, currency
Yes,
under?
we have currency on there. We have set her up with a training aid.
So there's a cent to money.
Yes. The money comes out from the U.S. Mint, and the Mint actually has a control on the ink that they make.
So it's infused with a cent?
Yes.
Now, obviously, Kelly's not going to react to a couple 20s in somebody's pocket. It's a lot of money.
Definitely not, yes. We're looking for at least $10,000 or more.
At JFK, it's not just passenger flights that are targeted. All mail coming into the U.S. is also inspected. In 1999 alone, they handled over 5.7 million pieces of mail. But cargo shipments are an even bigger concern. I was taken inside JFK's massive warehouse with Inspector William Bowe, part of the U.S. Customs outbound enforcement team.
Thousands of packages come into here. How do you make a decision as to which ones to look at?
We try to look at who's shipping the merchandise, the address. It's very difficult. We try to be as selective as we possibly can. We try to pick the best possible shipments, the shipments where we think we're going to find violations.
Mobile X-ray vans allow them to check boxes for drugs or weapons without opening them.
Those like hangers or something?
Yeah, there's some hangers.
Oh.
Okay, and this looks like there's a weapon. This is an example of what a firearm would look like in the X-ray screen.
You see it exactly. That's amazing.
Yes.
Opening the box confirmed what the X-ray had detected.
That's ammunition?
It looks like, yeah, there's ammunition concealed in this box, and it looks like there's also a handgun.
Somebody just thinks that they can send all these clothes and in one of the boxes just drop in a gun and it won't get caught.
Yes.
So you start looking for who's sending this box and who's supposed to be receiving the box.
Absolutely, yes. We follow up on it to try to find out who was involved.
Even more amazing than the X-ray machines are the atomizers, handheld electronic vacuums that can pick up trace scents of drugs, weapons, or explosives from outside the box. A computer identifies the specific type of contraband.
This particular time we've had a finding here.
Explosives detected.
Yes.
It just tells you.
Right, it's very, very precise. Yes,
it's
it's
amazing.
tremendous. Yes.
We're opening that one too.
Besides weapons, drugs, and money, here in the cargo area, inspectors are also on the lookout for counterfeit merchandise being smuggled into the country. Anything from fake designer clothing to computer parts to watches.
We're always trying to stay ahead of the smugglers. We've found over the years that they're always watching us. They watch our methods, our procedures, so we try to stay ahead of them.
What happens to all the contraband after it's been seized? It's locked up in secure evidence vaults across the country.
We try to hold on to it only as long as we need the evidence, because that becomes a vulnerability for us. We're now responsible for ensuring no one breaks into our vault, that we suddenly become the source.
When the court case is over, the haul is brought to a secret location and burned.
It's a very controlled situation. We have to escort it to the location, witness the burning. We weigh things on the way in, the cars. There has to be escorts. We try to do it in a way that the public doesn't even know we're out on the roads.
The contraband seized at international airports is just a portion of the illegal goods coming into our country every year. When we come back, we go to the busiest land crossing in the world at the California-Mexico border. And then the waters off Miami, where I go on a high-speed training mission with the Marine and Air Branch of the US Customs.
Hands up! Stop the boat!
Behind Closed Doors will continue in a moment here on A&E. Behind Closed Doors with Joan Lunden continues here on A&E.
With nearly 17,000 miles of air, land, and sea borders to protect, Customs has assembled an army of people and an arsenal of weapons for the ongoing battle. Every day, U.S. Customs checks nearly 350,000 private vehicles and more than 60,000 commercial trucks coming into the country by land. Land border crossings range from small 2-lane roads to a 24-lane superhighway at the California-Mexico border, the busiest in the world. San Ysidro, California. Inspectors here rely on a combination of trained narcotics dogs and high-tech snooping devices. They use fiber optic cameras to peer into a gas tank, which can hold up to 200 pounds of cocaine or heroin. It's a favorite hiding place because gasoline helps mask the smell of drugs. To search large trucks, they employ an arsenal of tools.
We have X-ray machines now that an entire tractor-trailer can be rolled into, and we can look at what's inside that tractor-trailer without even taking any freight out of it.
Handheld devices called busters look for any irregularities which could be hidden compartments. Laser rangefinders check the dimensions of trucks, searching for false walls where drugs could be stashed. Every year, Customs seizes millions of dollars worth of contraband here in San Ysidro, one of their toughest battlefronts. 3,000 miles away, the battle is just as fierce, but it takes place on the open ocean.
This is the port of Miami. As the gateway to South America, it is the prime point of entry for smugglers of all kinds, be it drugs, guns, money, and even people.
Here, US Customs has a thriving marine and air enforcement division.
We dispatch boats and aircraft to go out and look for illegal traffic, anything that has to do with smuggling. Very few people even realize that we exist. The only people that really know us well are the people that are smuggling.
They're cops with very fast and very expensive boats. Worth more than $250,000, they're designed to literally catch the smugglers at their own game.
They can go up to 70 miles an hour, and you'll feel the tremendous pressure and force as they hit the water. In the dark of night, going 65 to 70 miles an hour in a boat is quite an experience.
There isn't really any way you can prepare for the danger because you don't know what's going to happen once we, go vessel to vessel, and we've decided that a person isn't going to stop. From there on, it's pretty much anybody's guess.
Their boats can chase suspects for more than 300 miles on the open ocean. Once near the shore, they call in the Blackhawk helicopter. On board, a bus team keeps their guns trained on the boat. Together, the Marine and Air officers bring the chase to a halt.
Helicopter's one of the best boat chasers we got. We can, stop them and hold them. And that big black piece of machinery is a very intimidating factor when it's 5 feet from your face. You're getting blasted with salt water that's going hundreds of miles an hour in your face. You're not going to be able to function. And it does that very well. You can just hold him and spin him around in the water. You can do anything you want. It's like a cat and mouse.
The Marine officers board the boat, confiscate any contraband, and arrest the bad guys. A Customs helicopter shot this dramatic video of a night chase off the coast of Florida.
Okay, we got an impact. Roger that. Just check, see if our guys are okay down there.
Most of our activity happens probably after midnight. May even well into the morning after that, 2, 3, 4 a.m. When the prudent mariner, the normal person's home in bed or is operating with plenty of lights in the proper channel, in the proper method, not going too fast, if you will. So we're looking for that guy who's running lights out in excess of sometimes 60, 70 miles an hour.
So this is very dangerous.
Yes, ma'am.
How hard is it to drive the boat like that?
It's intensely difficult because you have floating things in the water, boats, there's freighters.
And you're going 60 miles an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
In order to prepare for high-speed chases on the high seas, they schedule regular training exercises where agents collar the smugglers. I joined the Marine enforcement team to take part in a high-speed drug bust scenario.
We have a bad guy boat set up, which is another one of our high-speed interceptors, and we're going to initiate contact and what we call engage the target. And we're going to effect a felony arrest, a felony hard stop.
I was familiar with the weapons from the helicopter exercise, but being on water posed a different set of challenges.
Let's pretend the boat is out this way, okay? We're gonna get yourself nice and tight in the seat, okay? Because you remember, if you're shooting, if you're going to address a target, okay? See how the boat's moving like this?
Right.
You have to be very careful.
You really do.
Okay, so you have to find a spot on the boat, kind of train on it,
and let your
body kind of gimble.
Absolutely.
After a few minutes of checking our weapons and equipment, we were ready to go. As the boat reached 70 miles per hour, the vibration and wind made it difficult to maintain my position at the front. Soon, our target was in sight.
Is that it?
That's him.
Okay.
Okay, now at this point, right now, we're at our most vulnerable. So now is when you really want to keep an eye out. And we have our blue light engaged so they know we're here. And then it's up to Eddie to do the good driving to get us up there. And hopefully, he stops. Give him good loud directions. Hands up, turn the boat off.
My role would be twofold. Once again, I would provide cover for my teammates, and I would order the smugglers to surrender.
All right, hands up, stop the boat!
And now after all that chasing and running, now everything comes to a stop. Now you have to kind of shift from a driving mode to a tactical mode. We have to make sure it's a safe passage for us to jump over. We have all kinds of threats here, and the very environment that we're in is a threat.
Stop your engine! Hands up! US Customs, step away from that wheel. We're coming on board. Step away from the wheel. Get your hands off the wheel. All right, turn your boat off.
While I had the task of keeping my gun trained on the suspects, my partners would have to jump between two moving boats to arrest them.
Holstering coming over. About 75% of the assaults on officers happen after the first handcuff is applied. Then they want to fight. And now we're in this little area, maybe 20, 30 miles offshore. We have no backup just around the corner. So, this is all we have. That's where it gets dangerous. Okay, got them both? Check the boat. Boat's clear. You guys are clear. Search for weapons. We have contraband. We're clear.
All right.
The scenario was over. The bad guys were cuffed, the drugs confiscated, and we were on our way back to the dock as night fell on Miami.
As it gets darker and it's more beautiful to us, what does that represent to you?
A threat. Bad guys use the cover of darkness to infiltrate our country.
Well, there's certainly a lot of excitement in the job. Do you think it's a cool job?
It's an extremely cool job. It's very satisfying. You get to drive these, $500,000 boats and fly in the helicopters, but that loses its luster after a while. And what really makes the job is putting somebody in jail, protecting the borders.
Well, you're a dad with a little girl, so you know we have a lot to protect.
Yes, ma'am. I think that's why we all do it. Time to go to work.
From Miami to New York to the California border, every day U.S. Customs is at the front line of a war that never ends.
Do you feel we're getting anywhere in fighting that battle? Are we winning that battle?
I don't know that we're winning it, but it's a battle that needs to be fought. We can't give up, because if we give up, then there's no other line of defense. We are the line of defense.
Behind closed doors of the U.S. Customs Service. For A&E, I'm Joan Lunden.